What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down a great quarterback football IQ quiz to test your knowledge of the position. Let's get started. Now, before we get into this video, fellas, if you are a quarterback and would like to learn how you can read defenses, check out that very first link in the description below where you can get access to 500 plus videos, all based on how quarterbacks can read defenses, identify the weaknesses of each coverage, and the best play concepts to work against that. Each specific video is like a 3 to 5 minute long breakdown where we talk about what quarterbacks should be looking for pre-snap, post-snap, the work. So if you guys would like to improve your football IQ as a quarterback, again, check out that very first link in the description below. Let's get back to this video. All right, guys, so if you're not familiar with our quiz style format videos, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a clip. We normally do this on kind of like film breakdown style. This time we're going to be doing this on the whiteboard so we could draw it out, further explain some of the things that we are going to discuss. So I'm going to show you guys a pre-snap look. I'm going to ask you guys a series of questions, maybe about a coverage. I'm going to give you a chance to pause the video, think about your answer, and then we'll break down why your answer is right or wrong. So the first question that we have is, what is the difference between cover 4 and cover 2? And I am not talking about the difference of what the coverages are trying to accomplish. I'm talking about how you guys can identify the difference while you're pre-snap on the field. So everybody knows cover 4, they're both two high safety concepts, right? So everybody knows that in cover 4, what are they doing? They got the deep fourths of the field, right? So they split the field up into quarters. He's got a fourth, he's got a fourth, he has a fourth, he has a fourth, right? And then in cover 2, we all know that the corners are sitting in the flats and the safeties have the deep halves of the field, right? So everybody knows that. I think for the most part, people have a general idea of what the difference of the coverages are, but how can you tell the difference when you are pre-snap lined up to know what to expect? Or maybe when you're watching film and studying a team. So what is the difference between cover 2 and cover 4 pre-snap? So you guys go ahead and pause the video and think about your answer. All right, so if you guys said the corners and how they are lined up, that is actually going to be incorrect, because here's what you guys got to understand about defensive backs, especially when you get to the next level. They're very crafty individuals. They will try to disguise coverage. They will try to show something pre-snap to screw with the quarterback's head, to screw with the receiver's head, and then change what they're doing at the last possible second. So the corners are always going to lie to you. They will lie to you no matter what, but the safeties are going to tell the truth. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, how are the safeties going to tell me the truth? There's two of them. It looks the exact same. It's a two high safety look. It looks similar. I look to the corners to tell me the difference. Now, maybe at a certain level of football, like youth football, high school football, maybe the corners do tell you the difference. They line up outside shade of a wide receiver. Let's say a wide receiver's here, outside shade, pressed up, eyes are to the inside on the quarterback. That's definitely a tell. Don't get me wrong. But DBs disguise their coverage. The safeties is a better alternative because it's tougher for them to disguise it. So if these safeties are lined up outside of the hash, that usually can be a tell that it's cover 2. Because when it's cover 2, they got to get this whole deep half of the field. So they got to get over there. So if they're lined up outside of the hash, that tells you that, oh, they're probably going to be backpedaling. Now, again, I say backpedal. Also, what matters is going to be their stance. If they're in something called skinny feet, that means that they're probably going to backpedal. That's like your typical backpedal stance that you'll see a DB get in. So skinny feet, lined up wide, and also their depth. If they're maybe like 10 to 12 deep, that usually just directly translates to cover 2. 10 to 12 outside the hash, skinny feet, that's a cover 2 safety. I don't care what this corner does. This corner could show like he's off in zone, come down and play cover 2. He could show like he's impressed man-to-man, bail off into zone. They will disguise the coverage on the outside. Now again, cover 4 safety, he's lined up a little bit closer, maybe about 8 yards. He's kind of in a squatted stance because he's going to try to help out. He's with run support, and they're probably a little bit tighter, maybe inside the hash or on the hash because they don't have as much ground to cover. So when somebody asks you about the difference between cover 2 and cover 4, don't just say the corners. There's so much more to it, like the safeties, the alignment, the depth, and even so. So again, corners can tell you the difference, but the safeties are a safer bet. All right, so the next question on our quarterback football IQ quiz is going to be, what type of ball would you throw on a smash concept play? So a smash concept, for those of you that don't know, this term is thrown a lot around in 7-on-7, 11-on-11, obviously. But a smash concept is where you have a receiver on the outside running like a hitch or a pivot. I have this receiver running a pivot, which is a whip. You break to the slant, then you whip back out to the sideline just to occupy the corner a little bit more, but it could also be a hitch. And then the slot receiver is going to be running a corner. So if you have a too high cover 2 defense, let's say that we recognize that it was cover 2 pre-snap from the things that we talked about on the previous question, see that it's cover 2, what type of ball would you throw to the corner route? Because obviously your read key is going to be the corner on the outside. Corner stays on the whip route because that's his zone. In cover two, remember, his responsibility is the flats. He's sitting with the flats. We still got to peek him a little bit, see if he maybe is trying to disguise the coverage. Again, corners are crafty individuals. But let's say we're throwing the ball to my slot receiver. What type of ball would you throw to him when it is a too high safety look? So what type of throw would you throw if it was cover two on a smash concept? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answer. All right, so the type of ball that you would give this slot receiver would be a throw on a line. So you would throw it on a line because, again, if you throw this thing with some touch over the top, this safety has a chance to make a play. Remember, and in cover two, those safeties are lined up a little bit wider, right? So they're lined up outside the hash mark. So we don't have the luxury and try to fade this guy, drop this thing over the shoulder. We have to put this ball on a line to protect him from the safety, almost like you're throwing an out route, almost like you were throwing that like hole. Remember in cover two, if we had a play concept where it's like a 5-yard out and a fade right here, you would throw this fade route against cover two, but it would be on a line. It'd be in that hole shot. It's kind of the same exact throw on the corner, but obviously you're throwing a corner route. So throw him like an out route, bring him away from the safety, and make sure that we protect that slot receiver. You throw that thing with some air, it's either picked, the guy's killed, or the ball is going to get batted down. All right, guys, so this is going to be kind of a different style question. I wouldn't say that there's no like perfect right or wrong answer to this, but there's 3 specific things that I'm looking for that we're obviously going to go over because I think this is important and not enough quarterback coaches, not enough quarterbacks in general talk about this kind of stuff. So film study is one of the most important things that a quarterback can do. How you guys can prepare for an opponent is like you could know coverages, you could know every single coverage, you could be very, very well versed when it comes to football IQ, but if you don't know how to identify it and prepare accordingly, you will not be able to put it into action on the field. Like, honestly, you can just play Madden. Like, Madden's not the same thing, but you're still identifying coverages, but you're not actually applying it. You have to be able to identify coverages, and you have to know how to apply it. So this question is going to be, what do you think are 3 key things that you should look for when studying an opponent on film? What are 3 key things? Again, there's maybe no perfect right or wrong answer to this, but there's 3 things that I'm looking for. So again, you guys can pause the video and think about your answer. What are 3 keys to studying film correctly? So you go ahead and pause the video. All right, so the first one that I want to go over, and again, you guys don't have to be like spot on, dead on the money with this, but you guys should be at least somewhat similar, okay? So the first one that I want to go over is going to be percentages, right? So percentages, what does that mean? What percent of the time are they in this coverage? What percent of the time are they in that coverage? I want to be able to identify their top coverages. So what are the coverages that they like to play the most often? Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 0? What is it? What are their top coverages that they like to run? Now, if you have a coaching staff, like, because when I coached high school football, I was in charge of the coverages, right? So we would be breaking down a team, like let's say we were getting ready to play a team like Long Beach Poly, for example, right? We would look at every single game of film that they would send to us, and I would have to go in and label each specific play. So if I saw on literally every play, it sucked. It was not a fun job, but again, you get very well versed in what that team is doing. And going into that game, I was confident that my players were going to be able to know what they would like, what they're going to see. The quarterbacks, receivers, they knew exactly what to look for. So you want to, on Huddle, this is where I was going with that. On Huddle, the app, which is where most of the film is, you can label the play and then run a report at the end of all the games, or run a report for X amount of games, and it gives you those percentages. You don't have to manually go in there, but when I was a player, I would manually go in there and do it myself. So if there were 100 plays of defense and 50% of the time they came out in cover 4, I was like, okay, that's probably one of their top coverages, right? So I would go through games like that. Percentage is one of the best things that you guys can know to prepare yourself, because you know, okay, what plays do we have that are cover 4 beaters? We have X, Y, Z. Their second top coverage is cover 0. What plays do we have are man coverage beaters? X, Y, Z. So you go into the game with a game plan. Hopefully your coaches do that for you, but if they don't and they're not preparing you with a game plan, you need to do it on your own, okay? Now, second thing that you want to look for is down and distance. So down in distance. So if a team likes to run, let's say, for example, let's say on 1st and 10, every single game of film, they go cover 4. That's what you should be prepared for. So when you're in a game and you know it's a new set of downs, it's a new drive, you're coming on the field after a turnover, it's 1st and 10, every single time they come out and cover 4, all right, that's what I'm looking for. Anytime that it's 3rd and short, they like to do like a weird, like, Tampa 2 or 2-man type coverage. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm prepared for to put our offense in the right type of situation. Now, some of you might be thinking, I'm a quarterback. I don't have the freedom to call these kinds of things. But again, You want to act like an offensive coordinator. You want to prepare like an offensive coordinator because that's how you'll get more freedom in the offense. There are so many quarterbacks out there that don't do this type of stuff, and they wonder why they don't play. They wonder why they don't get a shot because you're not on the same page as your coaching staff. And then last but not least, you want to look for best players. So I remember in high school, we used to go as far as having to learn the player's name. We'd have to learn their full name. We'd have a test at the end of every single week. Our quarterback coach would give us a test and grade us. Now, if you're the starter, like if you failed, it, wouldn't be the biggest thing, but you obviously don't want to fail. But if you're like a backup, what they would do is like if you were a second string guy and you failed the test, you would get demoted to third string, right? And if the third string guy passed, he would be promoted to second string. So we took it very seriously, right? Now, if you're the starter by a mile, like you obviously didn't get demoted, but you didn't want to do that. You made sure that you knew the test. But they would make us know their height, their weight, their position, their number, everything you could think of, because we had to know them better than we knew ourselves, because we wanted to know the best DB, best D lineman, and best linebacker. Those three positions, because those are the matchups that we can exploit. So if we know that there's a DB who's a scrub out there, and I got a receiver who's 6'2" plus, I'm going to go right at that guy anytime that we have one of their top coverages that we like. So if it's cover 0, it's man-to-man, I'm going right to that DB. I'm not even thinking about it. I may even check the play to a fade route. The DB's 5'5" and my guy's 6'2". I'm going to go at that guy every single time. But you got to know who that player is. You got to know his number. You got to know where he lines up, when he lines up there, so we know on the field and we could play fast. Guys, preparation is everything. So if you guys were somewhat close on these, that's good. I'm glad. We've never gone over this type of stuff on this channel before. But again, these are the things that I would focus on the most when preparing for a team. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like 500 plus videos on how you guys can read defenses, identify coverages, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that. I'll see you guys next time.